Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, class. How are you guys? I hope you always stay healthy and keep your spirit to do today activity. Before we start our lesson today, let's pray together by reciting Al-Fatihah. Pray begin. Pray finish. Again, I hope that you always keep your spirit even we do today's learning virtually. And don't forget to wear your mask when you go outside and wash your hand or bring hand sanitizer to keep your hands clean. Always follow the health protocol, guys, so we can do the meeting offline as soon as possible. Don't forget to fill your presents, guys, and you can do that by write your name in the comment column below the video. And at the end of this learning, I hope you guys are able to identify the social function, this text structure of narrative text, and you are also able to retell some narrative text and analyze the social, the structure, and the language element of the narrative text. Okay, guys, so did you sleep well last night? And talking about sleep, do you remember when you are younger, your parent uh, tell you some story before you go to bed? Can you mention some of that story? Yes, Cinderella, Snow White, Timun Mas, Malin Kundang, and etc. So, um, do you have any idea about what we're gonna learn today? That's right, we're gonna learn about narrative text. To begin our today's learning, I will start with explain about narrative text using PPT. You can take note to write the important things when I explain the material. Okay, we will learn about narrative text, and today this is our basic competency and the learning objective. Next, we will learn about the definition of the narrative text, the purpose of narrative text, the generic structure, the character itself, and the example of the text. First is definition of narrative text. So narrative text is a story with some problem in the story, and there is a resolution to solve the problem, and sometimes there is a moral value in the story. And the next is purpose of the text itself. The first is to entertain the reader, and the second is to tell a story to amuse, and the last is to teach a lesson or a moral. There are four generic structure in the narrative text. The first is orientation. Orientation is the set of the scene. It's where and when the story happened, and it introduces the participant of the story. It's like who and what involved in the story. The second is complication. It tells the beginning of the problem, which lead to the crisis or the climax of the main participant. And the third is resolution. This is about the problem is resolved either in happy or in sad ending. And the last, this is optional, reorientation or coda. This is a closing remark of the story, and it consists of moral value, advice, or teaching from the writer. This is the example of the story of narrative text, and it's about Cinderella. The first is orientation. So it will show about the set of the story. It introduced the participant that is Cinderella and where she lived and the other participant. And the next is complication. They introduce the problem with did not let her go to the ball, and Cinderella is very sad. But the resolution in the end of the story, a good fairy came and helped Cinderella to the go ball, and the prince fell in love with Cinderella in the ball, and they live happily ever after. So we can get the moral value by implicit in this story that you have to be patient and don't be mean to your sister even she is a stepsister, and don't be jealous easily. And next is the characteristic of the narrative text. The first is past tense. The example is killed and drunk. The second is adverb of time. Usually we found this in narrative text. It's like once upon a time or one day. And the next is the time conjunction. It's like when, then, and suddenly. The next is specific character. They in narrative text usually they mention the every character in the story like Cinderella, Snow White, Timun Mas, Malin Kundang, and many more. And the next is action verb. It's like climb, turn, broke. And the last is direct speech. We very often find this in narrative text. It's the example is like Snow White said, "My name is Snow White." And this is a practice for you. And I will give you time to read it about 3 minutes. Okay, I will go to the next slide. Okay, and let's find the generic structure in this text. The first paragraph, what is it? Yes, the orientation. It's shown by they introduce the main character itself, that is Snow White. And the second paragraph, yes, that is complication, like the beginning of the complication that Snow White hear about her auntie and uncle want to move America, but they can take her with them. And after that, the third paragraph is yes, it's still complication that she decide to run away from her home and go to the woods. Next, the fourth paragraph. Yes, it's resolution. It's showed by step by step. Snow White found her way that she met with the dwarf, and they introduce each other. And the last paragraph is yes, its resolution. It's shown by the dwarf offered her to live with them, and Snow White say yes, and at the end they live happily ever after. Okay, let's go to exercise one more. This is a little question. The first question is Snow White ran from her house at yes in the morning. It show in when she ran when the her uncle and her aunt have a breakfast. Right? Good. Number two, the third paragraph describe in detail what is the third paragraph. It's about when she ran away, go from her house and go to the woods. So, yes, B. What Snow White did after hearing her uncle's plan. Number 3. After Snow White heard her aunt and her uncle talk about her, she, yes, D. She ran away into the woods. Next, number 4. The dwarf said, "If you wish, you may live here with us." What did the dwarf mean with the word underline? Right, it's B. He offers Snow White to stay with them. And last, the purpose of this text is, that's right, A. To entertain the reader about Snow White. Okay, thank you so much. And I hope you understand about this little explanation, and we will go to the next activity. So, how guys? Do you still remember about my explanation before? And I hope you keep it in your mind, because after this you have to watch some video about the origin of Toba's lake. Watch it carefully because I will give you some exercise after watch this video.
In a valley in Sumatra, there lived a farmer named Toba. He was a diligent farmer, but unfortunately, his harvest was not always bountiful, and he often went hungry. Because of his hunger, Toba went fishing in the river. He waited a long time and became desperate. When Toba was just about to go home, suddenly something tugged on his fishing line. Toba was excited and started reeling in his fishing line.
"Wow, that's a big fish,"
said Toba. Sure enough, at the end of the line was a large gold scaly fish. Toba immediately brought the fish home to cook. At home, Toba was disappointed because all of his firewood had been used up.
"Oh, there's no firewood here. I better go look for some in the fields."
Then Toba placed the fish inside the basin, while he went to the field to collect the firewood.
"I will eat well today,"
said Toba while carrying the firewood behind the house. He lit the fire, but when Toba went to take the fish, he was surprised. The fish had vanished, and instead there were pieces of gold inside the basin.
"Where's my fish? And whose gold is this?"
Then, when Toba opened the door of his room, he was surprised. There was a tall woman combing her long hair in front of a mirror.
"This woman is so beautiful. Hey, who are you?"
asked Toba. The woman turned around, and Toba was fascinated. Toba had never seen a woman as beautiful as her.
"I am the incarnation of the fish you caught earlier. The gold coins were my scales."
Toba was confused. The woman smiled.
"I am cursed by the gods to be a fish, but thanks to you, the curse is gone now. Let's go to the kitchen. I'll make you food. You must be hungry."
Toba followed her to the kitchen. Deftly, the woman immediately prepared food for Toba. Toba was amazed by the woman's brilliance in the kitchen. He said to himself,
"If only she wanted to be my wife."
Apparently, the woman could read Toba's mind.
"I want to be your wife, but I have one condition,"
said the woman. After finishing his food, Toba was shocked to hear what she said.
"Just say it. What's the condition?"
"If we get married later, Never bring up my origins as a fish. I will not be the only one who suffer the consequences if you break this agreement.
Toba agreed. For him it was an easy condition. Toba and the woman finally married. Toba was working so hard in the fields to fulfill their daily needs. Then his wife became pregnant. Toba was pleased. He couldn't wait for the birth of his child. Not long after, a baby boy was born. Toba named him Samosir. Samosir grew into a naughty, lazy child. All he did was play around. Toba tried to be patient with Samosir's behavior. Whenever Toba worked in the field, Samosir didn't want to deliver the food his wife cooked for him. In the end, it was Toba's wife who delivered the food to Toba.
My wife, you can't spoil Samosir forever. If he continues to be spoiled, it will be harder to control him.
Toba's wife smiled and said,
Be patient, my husband. One day, Samosir will change.
I've been patient enough with him, my wife, but my patience also has a limit.
One day, Toba's wife persuaded Samosir to take food to the fields for Toba. At first, Samosir refused, but his mother continued to convince him. Finally, Samosir agreed.
All right, Mom, I will deliver this food to Father.
But on his way, Samosir played with his friends instead. After playing, Samosir felt hungry.
Oh, I'm starving. I will eat this food.
Samosir then ate the food that was supposed to be for his father and left him only a little. In the fields, Toba couldn't wait any longer. He was starving. Moreover, he didn't have time to have breakfast because a lot of work needed to be done that day. In the distance, Samosir came running.
Where have you been, Samosir? Daddy has been waiting for you a long time.
Samosir did not answer and immediately gave him the food. Toba was surprised to find only the leftovers.
Hey, Samosir, have you eaten Daddy's food? Your behavior is out of line. You little fish, come here.
Toba was angry at Samosir, without realizing he had spoken of the restrictions his wife had previously warned him of. Toba hit Samosir until he cried loudly. Samosir then ran to the house.
Mother! Mother!
At home, Samosir told everything to his mother.
Mother! Father said that I'm the child of a fish. Is it true, Mom?
Toba's wife felt sad because Toba had brought up her origins. Then she told Samosir to run up the hill.
Samosir, quick! Run up to the hill, son, before the flood comes.
Okay, Mom.
Samosir obeyed her. Immediately the sky was dark and lightning struck. A flood appeared from the river. Toba's wife suddenly jumped towards the tide and became a fish again. Toba, who was working in the fields, was shocked to see the flood coming towards him.
What's this water? Why is this happening? Ah!
He didn't have time to escape. Toba drifted and sank into the flood. Soon the surge flooded the entire valley and left only the top of the hill in the middle where Samosir was hidden. The flood had created a lake, and Samosir became an island. That is why the lake is named Lake Toba, and the island in the middle is called Samosir.
Okay, back with me again. And after you watch the video, now I want you to retell the story, the origin of Toba's lake, with your own language. You can write it down in the comment section below this video. And don't forget to write your name. Okay guys, I hope you still keep your spirit to follow today's activity, and after you write, you retell again about the bus lake. The next activity is still related to the video before, that the origin of the bus lake. You have to do a little quiz, and I will give you a link. You have to do this in quizzes, and I will give you about 5 minutes to do this quiz. Okay, and now we are at the end of the lesson today. Okay, so what you get from today's activity about narrative text? Yes, the first is definition about narrative text itself. It's about a story with some problem, then it try to solve it, and there is always about the moral value from the story. And you are also learn about the purpose of the text itself, like to entertain, to tell the story, and also to teach a moral to the reader. You are also learn about the generic structure. There are 4 the generic structure. The first is orientation, complication, resolution, and the last is reorientation or coda. And you are also learn about some characteristic in the narrative text, and you are able to retell and analyze some narrative text in the end of the lesson. Okay, enough for today's lesson. I'm sorry if there is a mistake when I explain the material or giving the information. I hope you guys understand today's material. To close our class today, let's say Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you so much for your attention and your participation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.